Alien Isolation turns its back on the blazing gunfire of last year's Colonial Marines and instead aims to recreate the chilling terror and lo-fi technology of the 1979 original film. And fortunately, it delivers on both with a horror game that literally has atmosphere coming out of the walls.
This is about survival. Do you understand?
The game's setting slots neatly in between the first and second film. You play Amanda Ripley, daughter of the famous alien exterminating Ellen. Unfortunately, her mum's still floating through space somewhere after barely surviving the first encounter on the Nostromo, so you're on a mission to try and track her down.
I know why you're working in the region where she went missing.
It's a nice simple premise that pays regular homage to the original film, and I really connected with Amanda and her struggle regardless of her inevitably doomed mission.
It's a life form, an unknown type, some kind of alien organism.
Despite being set in the far future, this is based off the 70s interpretation, which means technology is all very old school. Everywhere you look, you'll see large clunky buttons, tape recorders, and flickery CRT TVs. Everything feels suitably dated, and as a fan of the film, I love this. It all has a tactile aesthetic and feels far more realistic than the usual chromy, hologram sci-fi stuff we're used to seeing these days. Everything about the interiors feels researched and realised. There are layers upon layers of grills, pipes, swinging lights, and moody smoke bringing each location to life. And the corridors, great corridors, amazing corridors, corridors of the year. The game has a wonderfully cinematic intro with a deliberate slow pace to let you soak it all in. And in that first hour or so, you really feel the tension start to build as you face off against nothing but noises and shadows. But while there's no monster moment early on, you do get to square up against that all too familiar survival horror foe, locked doors.
Doesn't anything here work?
And Alien Isolation has perhaps the greatest variety of locked doors I've ever encountered. There are the classics like the keypad and keycard locks, some that require more muscle like these door clampy things, some that need power restored, and others you'll need to hack. Thankfully, you do eventually encounter actual enemies.
Come on, we don't want to piss him off.
And I'm certainly guilty of jumping the first time I was caught by the alien. But this death also gave me my first look at the reload options, which I soon came to realise are just as retro and clunky as the old analogue phones that you save the game with. There's no in-game autosave, not even after key events like cutscenes.
Stay still.
So you're often forced to sit through the same conversations, staged action, or slow-paced puzzles when you already know the outcome. Nothing undermines believability like watching scripted events play out over and over again. But on the plus side, this system does keep the stakes and heart rate high throughout the game, which is commendable considering the limited enemy types. What this game does best is create moments of genuine terror. Amanda is regularly being hunted down by more powerful foes. This forces her to creep about, desperately trying to avoid direct conflict, because it usually just means instant death. This style of play is a perfect fit for the franchise, and continues to feel interesting and unique for a decent portion of the game. Naturally, you do get some tools that make surviving a little bit easier. The most useful being the motion detector.
Some kind of tracker.
And you'll spend a lot of time with this out, slowly moving and listening out for that iconic beep to send you scurrying to the nearest hiding spot. There's also a neat little focus pull trick that adds to the drama when you're playing cat and mouse with the alien. As you scavenge around, you'll find parts to build a few other gadgets, but these are mostly geared around distracting enemies and helping you escape. Because the game is at its best when you're kept to a disadvantage, as this lack of power just adds to the level of fear. Meanwhile, the creature design of the xenomorph is spot on as it slinks in and out of the ceiling or it darts around a corner. Ugh. And the moments when you can hear it running up behind you or climbing through the ceiling are just terrifying. What I wasn't expecting to encounter in this game was the station's synthetics, which are equally distressing. The way they casually work away in the dark with their freaky glowing eyes, and how they politely inform you of your infractions while they're trying to bash you to death. They're a nice way to break up the enemy encounters, as I would inevitably forget I'm being stalked by this perfect specimen until it would suddenly reappear and I'd have to go through that initial moment of terror again. And while the game creates these amazing moments of tension, these highlights are consistently undermined. The main problem being that these scares are padded out with far too much corridor walking and door unlocking filler. There's also a handful of bizarre choices that feel particularly ridiculous within a survival setting. Why can't I pick up this gun? Why? It's right there! Just pick it up! There's an alien! Pick up the gun! Stop kicking it! And things like this expose the game's inner workings and just kill off a lot of that atmosphere the game's worked so hard to build. Ultimately, after the initial few exhilarating hours spent cowering under desks and in lockers, the magic just starts to wear off. Sure, the stress level remains, but it becomes less about the scares, replaced with a fear of being forced to spend more time repeating the same section of the game. And for each genuine scare I experienced, there were a handful of moments where the synthetics or the alien AI would just be comically unaware of me.
Hi there.
Alien Isolation is trying just so hard to be the perfect Alien game that, it genuinely pains me to highlight its glaring flaws. But when I realized I was reliving so many moments from one of my favorite films, I happily looked past these and just gave in to the cinematic terror. It was a bold gamble developing such a focused Alien game, but one that I believe paid off. It's an experience long overdue for fans of the film, and for anyone who isn't, Isolation should still be admired for its purity. I'm giving it an 8.